Okay, this is June 9th, another video review. This is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, the second in the Blade Itself series, trilogy, that's what it is, right? I really enjoyed the first one on my second read through years and years apart, right, as mentioned. And this one, I also really enjoyed it. This one, I mentioned before, I had read before, and spoilers, I remember getting to the part at the very end of this book when they realized, like, the journey was, there was no journey, like, treasure at the end that they'd been mentioning a lot, that was the purpose of it, right? It was just a stone. And I remember that really irking me at the time, back in 2019. And this time it didn't irk me at all. Like, I was so invested in the characters, and I was so invested in their growth along the way, especially Luthar, that it happened and I was immediately like, got it. And even what's his name? Longfoot even tried to say it to Baez, where it was like, the journey is, the reward, not the thing at the end, right? And he was shut down for it. But even that, like, that's definitely, I felt, and it was really great. And so I was worried about that, and it didn't end up being bad for me, and I actually really enjoyed that. All the characters are growing, and I really like specifically where, like, West is going, where he was, he was the hero from as I saw him, the hero from another story placed into here, trying to deal with now the political situation in Adua, the Union, where it was a grimdark kind of political situation. But in this one, he's sent off to the front, dealing with the first army of Prince Ladislaw, who got destroyed because of Ladislaw's problems, and then getting with the Logan's old group, Dogman, Three Trees, Dunderhead, Black Dow, Grim, all of them, and then growing in there to become just he is now fully a grimdark guy. He literally bit a person's face off, like his nose off or something. And that's wild. They called him Furious now. That's his name. He's a named man now in the North, at least to those men. So that was really cool. I really like West for that, because that change, and that really cool change from the stand-up hero from a typical story as I viewed him to the named man in this story. It was really cool. Luthar, that character growth from him actually getting his first drawing his blade and striking in anger for the first time in his life, not like a tournament, getting the kills, but then also getting brutally disfigured and hurt with a mace to the face. Spurned some character growth of his own, which was really nice. He's not as funny, but he makes up for it by being just a better person. He's still growing, but he's getting better. Pharaoh, there was some character growth where, she is less cold. She's still very mean, but she's less cold specifically towards Logan because, he's earned her trust. And Logan, it seems, he's already become a leader before even these books began, and you see him using his leadership characteristics and knowledge he's learned as a leader in the past, bringing his old group together to try and help this group, which he does really well. And we see that a lot, and I really enjoyed that, seeing Logan being a good leader. Baez is Baez. You learn a lot more backstory, which I don't know how it is. I guess it's just me as a fantasy reader nowadays, is I don't really care about the backstory. It was like The Faithful and the Fallen, where I truly just didn't, like, I understood the backstory. I got it. I got how it affected the world, and I got it was thousands of years old, that kind of history, but I was not crazy interested in it. I was more interested in the characters here in the now, and not at all about that. The same applies here, really. Don't care about the crumbling empire of old and how it might have looked and how the people of old might have been, and all of that typical Tolkien-esque stuff, which I love Tolkien stuff, and I feel like he's the only one who's escaped my exhaustion of that part of fantasy. Yeah. So again, I still don't really care about the backstory, but then again, it's not a huge part of the story. Like, you can be like, okay, there's the main villains where you have, you know, Khalul in the south coming up, and then who knows what Bethet is doing in the north and who he's following, but there's dark magic up there in the Shanka and where they came from, and now there's the Grand Baez is going off into the edge of the world to get a magical weapon to fight him, which turns out to be nothing, right? But you don't have to care about all these dark forces fighting against, trying to like destroy humanity, or at least take it over like Khalul's doing. You don't really have to care. What I really liked, and my favorite parts, were not even the quest portion even. It was mainly the in the mud, so to speak, on campaign trail, shoulder to shoulder, men fighting shoulder to shoulder, in the wars, right? In the wars in the south and the north, right? And I really enjoyed that part. You really feel the realness of the wars. And that goes to Glokta. How could I forget Glokta? I did forget Glokta. I do. Speaking of the Gurkish, he's in Dagoska, which is in like the south. It's like the Union's only foothold that they got. There's a massive seawall there to defend it, and you see Glokta coming in, like, knowing there's a spy there, knowing that his predecessor has just disappeared, definitely dead, and figuring out who did it, probably someone on the High Council that's there, who's the traitor, and also he has to defend the city with less than like 1,500 guys, and having to face off against like 50,000 Gurkish at his doorstep. And that was a really cool, I really like that whole, what do I call it? That whole, it's not a scene, but it's the area, right? It's that part of the book. It's like 50% of the book of Glokta, where maybe more like 60% of the book of Glokta, he is down there doing his worst down there. And you see him be incredibly effective at dealing with this situation, being a leader, because he's a leader in his own way. He's a different kind of leader than Logan. Or Logain, way different kind of leader, but it is effective, especially in the political way that the First Law, the grimdark political fantasy life, grimdark of the First Law, right? And he excels in there, right? His hands get dirty, and he's very good at threatening and also making true on those threats, right? So I really like that part of the book. Worked well, and is really necessary to see the threat that is coming up from the south against the Union, and they have yet to bring out their ships, right? Which we know about from book 1, right? So they're going to cross the sea with this massive army, and we know about it, and the Union's army is all dealing up in the north. Yeah. But the more, and this happened in the end, and this is where Three Trees died, spoiler, the more that like the fantasy stuff happens, the less I'm interested with it. Like the fear, I think is what they call him, just the big giant of a man who like can get shot 1,000,000 times and stabbed and slashed 1,000,000 times and not like get hurt or lose, basically, and brute force everything. I just don't care about. Like, I just don't care. The fantasy parts is getting me. I just maybe I need to switch to the genre for a bit, just to get like a Bernard Cornwell or something like that, like a historical fiction, just to get a break from fantasy. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of exhaustion from fantastical things, but yeah, that's my least interested in. That's the least interesting parts of any of these books to me, are the fantastical parts. The dialogue is snappy. The writing is fast-paced and great, and I look forward to reading the third one. I'm very happy that this series is better than I remember it. Very, very happy with that. I would give it, what did I give the first one? Probably like mid-8s. I would give this one, I think it was better than the first one. Just a lot more happened. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of character growth as well. I would give it like an 8.7, 8.8, somewhere around there. Really solid, really liked it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where it feels like a lot of this is just a feeling, right? And that's really it. That's really it. On to the next book.